Over to you, Sharda.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana. Shining is the self in all beings. By the immense grace of the self manifest as Ramana, it is a matter of great joy to be a part of the meditation and study circle and to share whatever a little insights are given to me at this point of time based on Bhagavan Ramana's teachings. So we have been, I would say, blessed with the topic, what is time if scrutinized? The inspiration for this springs from one of the compositions of Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. And before we go to that composition, I would like to dwell a little bit on what we see or what we experience as time. As Vasudev ji just said, we are living in the time and space framework, and time is something which is very, very significant for us. We are conscious of it all the time, and space is there, of course, but we may not be so conscious of it as we are conscious of time. So let us look at time. See, there is one aspect of time. You say there is one scene in front of us, one facet of time, and that we are right now somewhere in the second half of December, the December of 2022. So that means the year is drawing to a close, and already there are festivities which have started, which are being planned for ushering in the new year 2023. So there is this scene in which we are all a part, the scene of the ending of a year and the coming of a new year. This is very much a scene related to time. Time where one year is ending and another year is going to begin. Then there are other facets of time. We are a part of those facets of time as well. One very, very prominent or significant facet of time is our experience of the daily routine, the day, every day, from dawn to dusk, a little beyond dusk, probably. But if you say the day begins for us, each day begins for us with the dawn, with the rise of the sun, though, of course, I'm not very familiar with sunrise, but I am quite familiar with the beauty of sunsets. So there is a rising and the setting of the sun. So there is a daily clock. There is an annual clock, as we saw. There is a daily clock, the rising and the setting. And every day, the day comes to an end for us. It comes to an end with a scene with which we are all familiar, that of our going to bed. We go to bed quite happily. We are happy to go to bed. And we do hope to get some good sleep before we wake up fresh for another day. So there is the ending of a year, as we saw. The ending of the year doesn't seem to bring us great sorrow. On the other hand, we are quite excited about this year ending and another new year being born. So that is one facet of time, and we are quite happy to look forward to every new day and not worried about the ending of any particular day. Not too worried. We are quite happy to go to bed and have another day in our calendar. And then we have another scene, say, let us say, in the drama of time. There is a birth in our family of some new child, a great beginning of the drama of time. So there is time, the time frame. There's the birth of a child, the birth. Every moment, new children are being born into this world. And there is the other side of the coin. There is death. And death is also a very, very significant aspect of time. But that one aspect of time, it is not something which we are comfortable with. All the other aspects, as I was saying, no, we are happy with some, we do not mind some. But when we think about death, we begin to feel uncomfortable. Even the word, in some families, they do not even want the word to be mentioned, the word death to be mentioned. They would not like to discuss the coming of death of any of the family members. It is an occasion for sorrow, according to us. We mourn the event of death. We share in the mourning of people who are mourning the departure of the near and dear ones. And that aspect of time is something which not merely mystifies us, but disturbs us. The aspect of the final ending of something. We are distinctly uncomfortable with it. And it is in this context that we get the poem of Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi or the song of Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi, from which the lines has been taken, what is time if scrutinized. This song of Bhagavan Ramana was composed at the time when his mother was critically ill from typhoid. She had come, Mother Aragamma had come to stay with her yogi son, with her jnani son, Ramana, for a short time. And when she was there, he was at that time staying in Virupaksha cave on the Arunachala hill. And when she was there with him, she fell sick with typhoid. Of course, typhoid, we do not see it as a fatal illness now, but in those years, this was in 1914, she was almost given up for good. She was on the verge of death. And then Bhagavan composed a poem, a song, which is a prayer. This is the only occasion when he prayed. He prayed to Arunachala. He wrote a song of prayer to save mother, not just from the fever which was burning her at that point of time, but to save her from the fever of identification with the wrong notion that she is a body, to free her from birth and death altogether. That is the prayer which he wrote. In the Kannada translation by Dr. Lakshmi Narayana Bhatta, it goes like this. ಅಲೆಯಂತೆ ಸಾಲಿಡುವ ಜನುಮ ತೊಲಗಿಸಲು ಮಲೆ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಂತ ಹಿರಿಯ ಆಸರೆಯೇ ಅಲೆಯಂತೆ ಸಾಲಿಡುವ ಜನುಮ ತೊಲಗಿಸಲು ಮಲೆ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಂತ ಹಿರಿಯ ಆಸರೆಯೇ. The beauty is Bhagavan is praying for her being protected from death. But what is the prayer he is starting with? ಜನುಮ ತೊಲಗಿಸಲು ಅಲೆಯಂತೆ ಸಾಲಿಡುವ ಜನುಮ ತೊಲಗಿಸಲು ಮಲೆ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಂತ ಹಿರಿಯ ಸರೆಯೇ. ಓ great succor, oh great support of all those who take refuge in you. அலையாய் வரி பிறவி அத்தனையும் மாற்ற மலையாய் எழுந்த மலை மருந்தே. In Tamil he says, you are the medicine. அலையாய் வரு பிறவி அத்தனையும் மாற்ற மலையாய் எழுந்த மருந்தே. Oh, medicine, oh, rare medicine, who has risen up in the form of a hill, who is just grown in the form of a hill. For what purpose? To destroy the births of the devotees which are coming wave upon wave upon wave. Alayante saliduga. They're just coming one after the other in quick succession, the waves upon waves of births. In another composition of his, the Ekanma Panchakam, in fact the last composition of Bhagavan, he talks about this. He says, how many births are taken by the one lost in the ignorance, lost in the illusion that he is the body. Tannai marande tanuve tana enni எண்ணில் பிறவி எடுத்து. Taking countless births. So, Bhagavan says in this composition that the cure for death, which he is praying for, is embedded in the cure from births, from rebirth. Death is actually only a rebirth. Ending is another beginning. The end of one year is the beginning of another year. The end of one day is the beginning of another day. The end of one life would be the beginning of another life, unless this chain, this endless chain is cut. That is what Bhagavan is praying for his mother over here. He says, cut this endless chain of birth. Birth means death and death means birth. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. If you are born, you will die. If you die, you will be born. This is the endless chain which is going on. It has to be cut somewhere. How to cut it? And the Vedas say, we want it. We want this freedom from death, not only freedom from birth. We want freedom from death, really. But if we are born, we have to die. So in that sense, birth means death. So we want freedom from death. Mrityorma amritangamaya. We want to go to Amrita. We want to go to a state where there is no death. That is the prayer. That is the prayer. We all want to be immortal. Bhagavan Ramana says that this is not very surprising. It is not surprising that everyone wants to be immortal, because it is their true nature. It's their true nature. That's why everyone wants to be immortal. So if it is our true nature, then where have we lost it? Why are we caught up in this unending cycle of time? Time actually is a cycle. So when we look at time, if we are asking what is time, if you're trying to scrutinize time, are we looking at something which is a chronological time, the time measured by a clock, the time measured by a calendar? That is one kind of time. It says, I am 1 day old today, I'm 1 year old today, I'm 10 years old today, I'm 60 years old today, I'll be 80 years old on such and such a day, etc. This is the chronological time. But we have this chronological time which is measured by the day and night. Even if we simply look at that time, how real is that time? We don't know. What we think is present, is it really present? What we think is day, is it really day? Because when it is day for us, it is night in another part of the earth. When it is night for us, it is day over there. No, I have this weird capacity of remembering people's birthdays just the day before their birthday, forgetting it on the day of the birthday, and remembering it again the next day. This great capacity I have. So it's very, very embarrassing because I always forget the birthday or the day of the birthday. But it's very, very easy for me. This area doesn't create a problem at all where it comes to friends who are staying in the US. Because I will remember the next day, and that will be today for them. It will be the previous day for them. So it's very easy for me to wish them. Or if I am having friends in the very far east, then when I remember the previous day, I can wish them in advance. And it will be exactly on time. So what is this chronological time that we are having? How real is this chronological time? My brother-in-law jokingly says, you know, why we are caught in this tremendous illusion of time and space? It's because we believe that the sun rises and sets. The sun does not rise, the sun does not set. There is no morning, there is no evening, there is no night. But we are caught in this illusion of day and week and month and year and years after years. So there is this chronological time. And this chronological time, does it coincide with somebody's biological clock? Not necessary. Somebody's biological clock may be different. Everyone wants to go to sleep at 9 o'clock in the night. This person's biological clock makes them go to sleep at 12 midnight or 3 a.m. as Vasudev ji said. It may not be really a compliment to me. It may just be the fact that my biological clock is different from somebody else's. So now they have come up with this thought that there is a biological clock which works differently. And there is a physiological clock, which means that the body ages fast for some people, doesn't age fast for some people. So they may be chronologically a particular age, but physiologically a different age altogether. And then mentally they may be a different age. If there is no growth in the mind due to the certain factors of the brain, there may be no growth. So there may be of actual chronological age 20, 30, but psychological age 5, 6, 7 also, where it comes to mentally challenged individuals. So what is this time? Time, it's a great mystery. But that it is a mystery is not a big problem. It's not a big problem. There are many mysteries. There are people, scientists, who, in search of knowledge, in search of the pure joy of knowledge, may delve into mysteries regarding the creation, etc., etc. They are trying to find some answers. And then nowadays they say, you know, finding answers is also not an answer. There'll never really be an answer. It will keep growing. And that is the beauty. But what is the real problem which time creates for us, if at all it creates a problem? The real problem which time creates for us is when it brings sorrow in some form. We do not mind time. We do not mind, as I said, we do not mind the fact of birth, or we do not mind the fact of the day ending, another day starting. We do not mind the fact that we go to sleep and wake up. That is an ending. There is a beginning the next day. That is not creating a major problem for us. But we do mind the passing away of certain things. We do mind the loss of certain things. And most of all, we mind the what looks like the permanent loss in death. So here is Bhagavan Ramana praying to Arunachala, and he says, cut away the births of my mother, because you are the mountain medicine, you are the secret who can really solve this. And also you are Kala Kala, you are the death of death. Kala Kala ne ninna pada kamala hidide. Kala Kala ನಿನ್ನ ಪದ ಕಮಲ ಹಿಡಿದೆ ಕಾಲ ಕಾಲಿಡದಂತೆ ನನ್ನ ತಾಯಿ ಬಳಿಗೆ ಕಾಪಾಡು ಕರುಣೆಯಲಿ ಪದ ಸುಮವ ತೋರಿ ಕಾಪಾಡು ಕರುಣೆಯಲಿ ಪದ ಸುಮವ ತೋರಿ ತಿಳಿದು ನೋಡಲು ಆ ಕಾಲ ಸಹ ಯಾರು ತಿಳಿದು ನೋಡಲು ಆ ಕಾಲ ಸಹ ಯಾರು. He says, you are the death of death. Kala Kala Mrityunjaya. In another verse, where Bhagavan talks of this fear of time, fear of Kala. Really speaking, our entire life, our entire perspectives are governed by this unsaid fear of loss of identity. Fear, there is an underlying fear. The identity itself is fear. That I am Sarada means there is fear in that. That very being has fear in it. Fear of what? Fear of time. Fear of ending. Fear of change. Change which is unwarranted. Change which I am not ready to face. Fear of time. Fear of time. That is it. That is a very, because this entity is subject to change, subject to time. The entity will change. The entity, aspects of this entity will keep ending. Though new aspects of this entity will keep beginning, will keep being born, there will be some aspects which will keep fading away, which will keep fading away. We do not know, but now science says that the whole body changes, practically changes in a week's time. And certainly in a few years' time, there is no single cell left in the body which was there a week, 10 days ago, for a few years ago. It's a completely new body. So there is change all the time. Though whether we accept it or don't accept it, but we long for immortality. We long for that which is permanent, and we long for permanent bliss. So there is fear. Time means one aspect of time is feared. And Bhagavan says, how do you deal with this aspect of time? In his invocation to the 40 verses on reality, in the second invocatory verse, he says, Mrityunjayam mrityubhiyashritanam aham matir mrityumupaiti purvam. He says if one is afraid of death and one surrenders to the Mrityunjaya, one who is a conqueror of death, then what happens? Then what happens? Ahammatihi mrityumupayiti purvam. He says that Lord, who is the conqueror of death, destroys this small notion of I-ness, I-hood. The ego, the identity is destroyed by the Mrityunjaya, by the conqueror of death. Then, atha swabhavat amriteshu teshu. Then one becomes one's own nature. One gets back to one's own nature. And what is that nature? It is Amrita. It is immortality. It is nectarine. It is immortality. Katham punar mrityu dhiyo vakasha. Where then is there any avakasha? Where then is there any room for fear of death, fear of time? So one way is to surrender. And here also, in this prayer for mother's recovery, Bhagavan first takes the path of surrender. Kala kalane ninna pada kamala hidide. I have surrendered to you, O Kala Kala. You who are the conqueror of death. You who saved in that beautiful story of Markandeya, the boy of 16 who took refuge in Shiva, and Shiva kicked Yama away, literally kicked. Kala, Kala, the one who is time for time, death for death, and also the one whose foot destroyed the Kala, sent away, kicked away. So I am holding those feet which destroyed time. So Bhagavan is talking about the surrender. Ninna kala kalanne ninna kalane ninna pada sumava hidide kala kalidadante nanna tai balige kapadu. Protect my mother in such a way that death does not even keep his feet near her, does not come near her. Such a prayer, surrender. And then in the last line, Bhagavan turns the perspective. Ramana turns the perspective. Kala kalidadante nanna tai balige kapadu karuneyali. Be compassionate. Padasumava toru. Show your feet. And then Tilidu nodalu ಆ ಕಾಲ ಸಹ ಯಾರು? If you are attentive, ஆராயிர், in Tamil he says, ஆராயிர் காலனுமே யார்? ஆராயிர் காலனுமே யார்? ஆராயிர் காலனுமே யார்? Who is this time? What is time if scrutinized? What is death if scrutinized? What is time if scrutinized? What is this time? Where is this time? What do we want from time? And by the scrutiny of time, Bhagavan Ramana is not intending the scrutiny of chronological time, the scrutiny of physiological time. Maybe as a first step, the scrutiny of psychological time. Where is this time? What is this time? Also leads to the question, where is this time? Where does time exist? If my day is somebody else's night, if even during my waking time here, somebody else is asleep next to me, that somebody else who is asleep next to me and I am awake, are we sharing the same world? If in the same room there are two people, one awake and the other asleep, are they sharing the same world and the same time? The same space and the same time is not being shared by those two people. One is asleep, maybe dreaming, maybe in a different world, and certainly in a different time zone as well. So, where is the commonality of time? There's a Tamil movie, Kamala Hassan's movie, Raja Parvai, very beautiful scene in that film. He is a visually challenged person, and he and his beloved are to meet. She is to come to meet him, but she can only come, as most of these romances go. It is a secret romance. Her father doesn't know about it, and she expects him to go on a tour, and she can go and meet her beloved Kamala Hassan. Now, this scene is set in that context. And the father of this heroine, he is to leave for the airport. He is getting delayed. He is worried that he is getting delayed. He is packing, he's taking things, he's walking up and down in the house. For him, the clock is ticking super fast. The director of the movie shows the clock running. The same seconds are running. The minutes are running like anything, so fast. And there is his daughter waiting to go and meet her beloved. And she is looking at the clock. Her father is not leaving. And the clock moves slowly for her. Every minute seems to be an hour. For him, every minute also seems to be an hour in terms of the speed which the time is going. For her, it is like every minute is an hour in the slowness with which time is moving. When we are happy, time goes by fast. When we are sad, time hangs heavy on us. Days don't seem to pass at all. Hours don't seem to pass at all. If we are awake at night, if we do not get sleep, each minute would seem like a long time. Those who suffer from insomnia would know how difficult it is to pass the night. So, where is time? What is time? Where is time? Time is only in our mind, says Bhagavan Ramana. So, if we want to understand time, if we want to scrutinize time, where should we look? We cannot take apart a clock, tear apart a calendar, cut it into pieces to scrutinize time. We have to look into our own minds, and that is where is the secret of time. The secret of time is hidden in our own mind. But why should we look into this secret of time? Well, as I said, one part of the reason to look into the secret of time is because we fear time, because it seems so inevitable and also so mysterious. We want to understand time because it is mysterious. Because it is mysterious, it has great power over us. And because it is so inevitable, it seems we have no control over it whatsoever. It is just like that. It's a given. We can't do anything. It's unshakable. We hear so many stories regarding the impossibility of changing time, especially the time of death. There is this very sweet little story, of an incident. It says that in Vaikunta, where Lord Vishnu is reclining in his yoga nidra or in his meditative state, once Lord Yama decides to visit him. And outside the gates of the Vaikuntha, ever ready to, to transport him wherever he wants to go, Lord Vishnu wants to go, is Garuda, the massive king of birds. And it so happens that there is this one small little tiny bird, not even a sparrow, even tinier than that. A tiny bird is simply chirping and flying around somewhere near the gate as well at that time. When Lord Yama, the Lord of Death, comes there, and before entering, he has a meeting with Lord Vishnu. Before entering, he just turns and looks at that little bird which is happily chirping around, and it's so happy little thing. And he just looks at it quizzically for a moment and then goes in. He doesn't say anything. Now Garuda observes this look of Yama and he gets worried. He says, looks like the Lord of Death is going to finish off this little bird. So sweet, this little thing. Why does he want to finish it now? I'll do one thing, I'll protect it. So he puts that bird on his own back and he flies across the 7 seas and he goes to an island and he goes to a cave in that island and he quietly places this bird inside the cave in that island and flies back all in a moment. And by that time, after a few moments, the Lord of Death, Yama, comes out of his meeting with Mahavishnu. And then Garuda, very pleased with himself, asks Yama, why did you look at that little bird before you went in? And Yama says, you see, I knew the last moments of the bird had come. But the last moments of that bird were scheduled to be in an island 7 seas across from here in such a cave. That is where the end of that bird has to come. The end of that bird is waiting there for it. But how will this little fellow, in a few moments, get across the 7 seas and reach over there? This was my concern. This was my concern. When I looked at him, I was wondering how the Supreme Lord is going to ensure this. And well, he knows his task better than I do, said Yama. So there is this fear in us that it is inexorable, cannot be changed, and we do not know how it will come. We cannot trick death in any way. So there is this fear. This is one side of the story, one reason why we are all somewhat eager to find out what is the nature of death. And we have in our Puranas, of course, we started with that, we had that story of Markandeya, who was saved by Lord Shiva from death, and he remained ever 16. But there's another story of a young boy who had an encounter with death, because I'm talking of death because death is the ultimate embodiment of time. Time is death. Time is ending. Time is also a beginning. If we can look at it as a beginning or we can look at it as an end. But we're looking at it as an end because that is what is fearsome most of the time. We are worried about endings. Of course, if something is not good, then we will be happy for it to end. But otherwise, we do not want the ending of something. Okay. So if we don't want the end, we have to look at it. And there is this young boy, Nachiketas. He was sent to the land of Yama, death, by his father. I give you away to death, he said. The young boy went. He waited for 3 days and 3 nights. And Yama was away on his tour. He came back and he said, oh my God, I have made you wait so long. Ask me for some boons. And the boy asked. 3 boons he was granted. The 3rd boon he asked for was, I want to know the secret of death. What is death? It's scrutinized. I want to know the secret of death. Yama told him, don't ask for the secret of death. Ask me for anything else, I will give it to you. But don't ask for this. You want great wealth, untold wealth? I will give it to you. You want good health for long years? I will give it to you. You want power? You want to rule over the whole earth? I will give it to you. And the little boy told the Lord of Death, thank you, but at the end of it all, you will give it to me. But it will come to an end, and I will be back to your doorstep. Ultimately, I will be back only to your doorstep. I'm already here. Tell me your secret now, O Lord of Death. That is all I want to know. And so there is time, there is the grip of time. If we want to know the secret of time, we may want to know it because we want to escape from the inevitable. We may also want to know the secret of time because, well, we are always in pursuit of things in the realm of time. We want things, we want joy, we want it. And where do we think we can get it? We believe that we can have happiness, we can enjoy something in the realm of time. We are constantly pursuing goals in the realm of time. But if we pause and look within to see what is the real nature of our quest, Ramana says that the real nature of our quest is for happiness that is unchanging, joy that is eternal, that never changes. This is our quest. And sometimes when sad things come also, we are caught in the time frame. We want it to end, but those sorrows do not go away. What to do? That problem is also there. Joys go away, sorrows do not go away. We are constantly caught in this mesh of time. And this is where Ramana says, if you really want to understand time, understand that time has no control over you whatsoever, no control over your joys or your real happiness. It is available for you here and now, regardless of what the situation time is creating for you. Don't worry about what time is creating for you. Time will create certain things. That is called destiny. There is cause and effect. If an arrow is thrown, if it is let go off from the bow, it will go and strike somewhere. There is cause, there is effect. And we do not know what causes what. When the cause began, did the cause of my present experience begin yesterday or 10 days ago? We do not know. We do not know. Or what we call in the previous birth. We do not know which part of my destiny is related to which part of my destiny in the past. So it is a very, very intricate and mysterious web. How can I unravel that web? Can I understand it? Bhagavan Ramana first says, don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about scrutinizing time. Because the secret of joy is not hidden in the treasure chest of time. It is not in the treasure chest of time at all. We cannot find eternal happiness through anything which time can give. And we cannot lose our real happiness through anything which time can take away. But time, we must understand, cannot give us eternal happiness because it is time. Time means beginning and end. So if we are in search of eternal happiness, what is the use of looking for eternal happiness in the realm or in the kingdom of time? At the same time, the beauty is that time can also give us the path beyond time, transcending time. The secret to the transcendence of time lies in time itself. Time can give us that. How? If we scrutinize time, says Ramana. And he says this from his own experience. He himself scrutinized death. What is death if scrutinized? What is time if scrutinized? Arayet kalanume yar. It means that it is death. If death is scrutinized, if time is scrutinized, what is it? As a boy of 16, he decided to face death and find out what is death. He faced it and he questioned, what is it that dies? So by facing death, he conquered death, the young Ramana, boy of 16. And this is the secret which he is giving to us over here. Arayir kalanume yar. Find out what is time. Face time. How? Face time. How to face time? Time is running so fast. And time is so intriguing, we found, and time is so varied. How are we to scrutinize time? And Ramana says, it's not very difficult. It's easy because time is only the mind. The mind is time. No mind, no time. You understand your mind, you will understand time. You transcend the mind, you will transcend time. So the secret lies in understanding time. The way to scrutinize time is to scrutinize the mind, to look at the nature of the mind. And Ramana has given us a very simple path to understand the nature of the mind. And that path is called the path of self-inquiry. He says, if you start looking at your own mind, you will find that the mind is nothing but thoughts. Only thoughts are there in the mind. Nothing but thoughts are there in the mind. Only thoughts are there in the mind. This is something we have heard many times. We also recognize it in some manner because whether or not we are deep into meditation or spiritual practices, and of course when we become earnest about meditation and spiritual practices, the first problem that every spiritual seeker comes up with, I sit down for meditation and so many thoughts are running in my mind. So many thoughts are running in my mind. Only thing is, when we use that expression, we are saying I and my thoughts are different, but we are not paying attention to such a detailing in our statement. We say thoughts are running in my mind, but we accept that there are thoughts. The presence of thoughts is accepted by us. The clue which Ramana gives is that yes, there is a presence of thoughts, and there is only the presence of thoughts. The mind is thoughts. Vrittayo manaha. Mind is nothing but thoughts. Mind is nothing but thoughts, only thoughts. And when thoughts are not there, what happens? Time is also not there. This is the third aspect of time that we experience every day. We do not experience death, but we experience deep sleep every day. Time comes to a standstill. There is no time. There are no thoughts. There is no time. We do not know the passage of time during deep sleep. It is only when we wake up that we know the passage of time. We may look at the clock and say, I slept for so long. But at the point when there are no thoughts, there is no time. So when there is the mind, there is time. The mind means there are thoughts and only thoughts. Sometimes even during waking, when we see something vast, when we look at the sky or we look at the, if it is possible to look, even if we go to the planetarium and we see a vista of all the galaxies, vast, something vast. And actually when we look at the sky, maybe if we lie down on the terrace and look at the sky, or when we look at a huge mountain, or we are on the top of a mountain, or we see a whole range of mountains like the Everest and the Himalayas, huge, magnificent. Or sometimes when we see a huge ocean, something very vast, then what happens? The mind becomes silent and time stands still at that point. We experience it. We experience that when the mind is still, there is no time. When there is no movement of thoughts, there is no time. So, if we want to cross over the boundary of time, we have to cross over the boundary of thoughts. And the thoughts are there, but thoughts are there. All the time thoughts are there. And it seems impossible to cross beyond the boundary of thoughts, the kingdom of thoughts. Thoughts, there are thoughts all the time. If it is not gross thoughts, it is subtle thoughts. How do we ever manage to go beyond the domain of thoughts? Bhagavan Ramana says, again, it is possible. It is not impossible. It is possible. Many people have done it. Why not you? He says. Many have done it. It's not like it has happened only to me. Many have done it. Many have achieved this state. The great sages speak about it. Many have achieved this state. Here and now you can do it. Here and now you can transcend thought, you can transcend time, you can transcend death, because that is what he did. Vindati iha jivastu devikaha vindati iha, he says in Upadesha Sara. And Muruganar Swami also says, Needu ideಗಳಿಗೆ ನೀ ಬಾಳಿನಮೃತವು ನನಗೆ ನೀಡು ideಗಳಿಗೆ ನೀ ಬಾಳಿನಮೃತವು ನನಗೆ ಬಾಯಾರಿ ತಪಿಸುತ್ತಿದೆ ನನ್ನ ಹರಣ ಕಾಲಮಾಯೆ ಸೊ ಹಿಮಗಿರಿಯ ವಾಸನೆ ಅಮಿತ ಜ್ಯೋತಿ ಪ್ರಕಾಶ ಜಲಜ ಚರಣ ನೀಡು ideಗಳಿಗೆ ನೀ ಬಾಳಿನಮೃತವು ನನಗೆ. This now is the time, my Lord. Now give the gift of life, pure bliss. This now is the time. So this right now, and Ramana says, right now it is available to you. The bliss is available to you. Right now, Amritatva is available to you. Timelessness is available to you. If you look into your mind and then you find there are thoughts. Yes, there are thoughts. Of course, there are thoughts. And what do? You see, there are thoughts. First thing is, accept that in the mind, there's nothing but thoughts. Understand, there are only thoughts in the mind, nothing else is there. Mind is only, see, thoughts, different types of thoughts, all types of thoughts. Some thoughts feel light, we can deal with them. Some thoughts feel very, very heavy. We are not able to push them away. We are not able to get rid of them. Are they all the same? They're all the same. All only thoughts. Thought of sorrow is a thought. Thought of joy is a thought. They're all our experiences. What is a thought? What is a thought? A thought is an experience that we have. Every object is experienced by us. Physical objects, mental objects, gross objects, subtle objects. Seeing a mountain, as I said, a physical object. Having a toothache, a physical object. That is also experienced by us. It comes and goes. The experience comes and goes. A thought is an experience, it rises, it is sustained, and it subsides. It rises, it is sustained, it subsides. Up and down. And that is the Januma, that is the wave upon wave of birth. The birth of thought, the subsidence of thought. The birth of the next thought, the subsidence of thought. Alayante saliduva Januma. That is how the thoughts come, being born one after the other. But the wonder, the clue, the key to freedom is also there. The fact that every thought rises, every thought also subsides. And this means, though I seem to be in the grip of time, in the grip of time, through the grip of thoughts, however, no thought is permanent. It subsides. And the fact remains that it is my thought. Each and every thought is my thought. Thought is not I. Thought is an experience for me. That means I always should be more powerful than that experience. I am. And then I have an experience. The experience comes, it goes away. I am. During the experience, I am. Bhagavan said, waking comes and goes, I am. Dream comes and goes, I am. Sleep comes and goes, I am. I am. Thought comes and goes, I am. Sorrow comes and goes, I am. Joy comes and goes, I am. Coming and going is time. I am is transcendence of time. Transcendence of time through transcendence of thought. Transcendence of thought through observation of thought to begin with. To recognize that there are thoughts, but these thoughts are not I. When we watch the thoughts, we will realize, first we will realize that there are many thoughts. As we keep watching, we will find that the pace of the thoughts slows down. The very watching slows down the pace of the thought. Then we will recognize that thought rises, thought subsides, the thought is mine, it is not I. And then the question will come in us, if all these experiences are not I, who am I? This is what Bhagavan asks us to turn to. Who am I? Who is the I who is experiencing thought? Who is the I who is experiencing time? The scrutiny of time actually takes us back to the scrutiny of the I. And when one thus scrutinizes, asks, who am I? And that is the real quest which Bhagavan is pointing to. Here, in this prayer for mother's recovery, he is pointing to the quest of self-inquiry. And he says, what happens after that? After this line where he says, what is time if scrutinized? He says, oh Arunachala, you are that extraordinary fire of knowledge. ஞானங்கியாய் ஓங்கு நல்லருண ஓங்கலே. You are the fire of knowledge. And what What happens through this inquiry? What are you to do through the inquiry? You should just take my mother's body into that embrace of knowledge. ஞானாங்கியால் அன்னை நல்லுடல் ஞான செய்து உன் பதத்தில் ஐக்கியம் ஆக்கிக் கொள்வாய் சக்தி மூட்டுவதே சற்று. Make her one through this process of inquiry. Initiate this process of inquiry. Initiate her into this process of inquiry and make her one with the flame of knowledge that you are. And after that, there is no question of any cremation, he says. Chahati muttuvadeen saatru. And you are that great hill, Maya, Mayakavade, Matrarudamamalai. You are that great hill whose very purpose is to destroy illusion. And how do you do it? Through the power, through the weapon of inquiry. Bhagavan brings this inquiry everywhere. It is his stamp, mudra, as it were. Otherwise, how do we find this stamp of inquiry in a prayer? This is a prayer for mother's recovery, a prayer to Lord Arunachala, where he says, you are like my mother. I have taken refuge in you. He is asking his mother Arunachala to cure his mother Aragamma of the fever of birth and death. He is asking Arunachala not just to cure her physical fever, but to cure her illusion altogether. And so, in the prayer also, we have the stamp of self-inquiry, which Bhagavan brings in over there. Nanu yaru enuva shodhane nadaye sadha. Do it always, says Bhagavan in his Atma Vidya Kirtanam. He says, don't think it is difficult. Don't think self-inquiry is abstract. Don't think self-inquiry is difficult. It is very simple. It is your own self we are talking about. We are not talking about something else. We are not talking about a stranger. We are talking about your own self. Each one of us experiences our own self. He says, can you not experience yourself? Vani Vasudevji, in one of our workshops, which she had very kindly participated, as she does in most of our workshops, she is very sweet enough to come and give us one session or two sessions. And in one of those sessions, she blindfolded a young girl, young participant over there, and then asked her if she could see A, B, C, if she knew what was here around her and all that. And then she asked her, do you know that you are there? This is what Bhagavan says, isn't it? In a dark room also, we don't need anybody to prove to us. We don't need the lights. We don't need any proof from the senses. The idea of blindfolding the girl was to create the atmosphere of a dark room. Of course, the girl said, yes, I am here. I know I am here. I do not need anybody else's support to say I am here. We need the support of the I to say a thought is there, a feeling is there. It is my feeling. Without me, my presence, in my sleep, that feeling cannot occur to me. Only with my attention, the power of that attention, that thought comes to me. Any thought can come to me only by the power of my attention. Whereas the existence of the I does not need the support of thoughts, does not need the support of time. And time disappears. When one gets into the thought-free state, what will happen? Time will disappear. When one questions, who am I? All the thoughts will come to a standstill. Initially, it will feel as if it is a lull. We feel as if I was silent for a short period of time. When we come out of the silence of the self, when we come out of the time when we were free from time, we again put the boundaries of time to that experience also. We try to claim that with thought. We say, I had an experience of silence. I had an experience of timelessness. But really speaking, that is only a thought about that state. It is not that state. It is not that we have an experience of silence. Silence is there even when words are there, no? Right now, when I'm speaking, when you're hearing me speaking, can you be hearing me speaking if there was no silence in the background? When I stop, what happens? Then you feel the silence. It is the same thing with thoughts also. When thoughts are there, also the self is there. The self can never go away anywhere. The self is always there. The self is everywhere, all pervading, all the time there. It is our true nature. It doesn't go away anywhere. But what happens is when thoughts arise, one gets carried away by the momentum of the thoughts. Therefore, a practice, a sadhana becomes necessary to cut away the thoughts, either through dhyana, concentration, or through self-inquiry by asking for whom are these thoughts, and then asking oneself, who am I? When one asks oneself, who am I? What happens? If I don't know who I am, can I be thinking of anything? Can I be having any experience? If I don't know who I am, can there be any experience for me, including the experience of time? So every inquiry actually, whether you inquire what is time, or whether you inquire what is the thought, or whether you inquire, of course, the root inquiry, who is this I who is experiencing time? Who says there is time in the first place? To then find out what is time. Who is saying there is time, there is space? Who is saying this? I am saying this. Each one of us, for each one of us, the answer is I am saying this. And who is this I? Who is this I who says there is space, there is time, there's a world, I am there in this world? Who is saying it? There may be thoughts regarding it. But those thoughts are coming and going, they are not I. So who am I? So as we keep coming back again and again to this question, gradually one would realize that the silence is natural. The freedom from thoughts is natural. Thoughts are an aberration. Thoughts come and go. Silence does not come and go. The truth does not come and go. Illusion comes and goes. Illusion keeps coming and going. And then one would have transcended time. By scrutinizing time, one would have transcended time. Bhagavan says, one who has done this becomes the emperor of all the worlds. ஒரு குடை நிழற் கோவே. One such a one is supreme emperor, sole emperor of the entire universe. Why the sole emperor? Because there is no one apart from the self. The self alone is. So there is the supreme freedom where there is neither time nor space. ராப்பகலில்லா வெறுவெளி வீட்டில் ரமித்திடுவோம் வா அருணாச்சலா, says Bhagavan in Aksharamanamala. He says, let us sport ever in that vast space of bliss of the self where there is neither day nor night. Where neither day nor night exists. In that vast, come let's sport in bliss. In the vast open space where neither night nor day there is. Come, let's sport in bliss, in the house of open space, where neither night nor day there is. Come, let's sport in bliss. Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala. Says Bhagavan, there is neither day nor night, where there is neither coming nor going. That is our true nature, because it is undivided, it is vast. Everything that comes and goes is in the realm of time, and everything that comes and goes is in the realm of our mind, in the form of a thought. This is how Bhagavan encapsulates it for us. He simplifies the whole thing for us and makes us recognize our true nature. There's a question which I saw. I and the self are put together, it is Brahman. No, it is not like that. Brahman alone is. Brahman is another name for the self. There is no I and self. There are no two things. There are no two entities at all. There is only one entity. There is no division. There is nothing apart from the self to bring and put into the self or to take away from the self. There is no scope because it is all pervading. I is the self, is Brahman. I taken to be the mind is an illusion. I understood as my real nature is the self. The Vedas call it Brahman. The Vedas also call it by different names earlier in the Vedic period and all. There are different names, but what we know in Vedic parlance now, that is called Brahman, the name given. Bhagavan calls it self. He calls it I. That's all. He says, he calls it the self. He doesn't use the term Brahman most often, but that is what the term Brahman means, the same. It means the self. And it is not a combination of anything, because there is nothing apart from it for it to be combined with. It is alone. It alone exists. Nothing exists other than that. But there is an illusion we have that thoughts exist, that we exist separately from the self. Since we are having an illusion, a path is shown to us to break away from this illusion. Since we are conditioned, a path is shown to us to decondition ourselves through the question, who am I? Asking ourselves, inquiring repeatedly, we are taught to get back to our true nature. And the inquiry will take us beyond the bondage, every bondage, and the highest bondage being the bondage to time. Time and space is what makes us what we are. They are both the same actually. Time and space are not different from each other. They are one unit. When I say I am here, if I say I am here, that is space, I mean that I am here now. And that is how it is. Time and space are both intertwined in this illusion. There is an illusion that there is space, there is an illusion that there is time, and these two are binding us. We feel we are bound by time and space. If we inquire into any one of them, if we inquire into the nature of time, and in 40 verses on reality, Bhagavan gives the inquiry into the nature of time in a slightly different way. He says, Bhutam bhavishyatcha bhavat swakale tadvartamanasya vihaya tattvam hasyana kim syat gatabha vicharcha vinaika sankyam ganane baloke. What is past? What is future, says Bhagavan? They are both present only. Yesterday was today when it was there. Tomorrow will be today when it comes. There is no past, there is no future. We do not know what is this past, present, future. In a way, we are all the time living in the past because we live in thought. And thought pertains to something which has already happened. See, even if we see something, 1 nanosecond later only the brain registers we have seen it, and it says, I have seen a flower, I have seen a house, I have seen a waterfall. After seeing it registers, then the thought comes. So already it is the past. We keep living in the past. But what is the present? Asks Bhagavan. Time. If you really want to understand time, understand the present, because present is the only time. If you don't do it, it is like trying to count up to 100, saying, I will not include one. One is not a number. One is insignificant. But I will say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'll go on till million. What are all those numbers? They are all only multiples of one, additions of one. So, without counting one, can you count the numbers? It is so absurd. Similarly, if you want to understand time, understand the now. What is now? Now is where there is no movement, where there is no going away, coming back, right now. Even my thinking I am here now is not now, because that is a thought. If I think I am Sharada sitting here now, to think I am Sharada is a product of the past. It is a memory coming from the past. So now is beyond thought. So we'll come to the same point of inquiry, whether we come from the side of prayer and surrender. When we surrender, what happens? We stop thinking because we've left everything to the Lord. So either if you surrender and leave everything to the Lord, or you inquire and recognize that it is all an illusion, because illusion means that which comes and goes. It does not have a permanent existence. That is what illusion. Definition of reality is that which ever is. So thought is an illusion, comes and goes. And it is dependent on me. It comes and goes. I pay attention to the thought. It is non-existent next moment. And where is it rising? Where is it setting? Within me. This thought is rising, setting. What is the stuff of which this thought is made? And this thought is saying, I exist as Sharada. But if I question the thought, wondering, who says this? Who says this? This is just a construct. It is just an image which is rising, I am Sharada. But who is saying this? Who is experiencing it? Is that an image? Is there one little person sitting inside me? No such thing is there. So what is it? What is that which is experiencing all this? When we dive deeper and deeper within, we experience it as pure consciousness. And in that, there is no element of time. It is freedom from time. We would become completely free. Completely free. No more bondage of any kind. Because all bondage comes from time. And when we understand time by understanding thought and then question, who am I? We would reach the source which is beyond all this and which is extraordinary bliss. It is unbounded knowledge and it is peace. They're all synonyms for the same experience. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana.